Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. If you've been feeling like your days are just flying by, but you aren't actually making any real progress, well, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're going to transform how you tackle this upcoming year. We're looking at a very concrete blueprint designed to help you escape the daily chaos, stop living on autopilot, and build a winning system that actually works for your real life. Here's the roadmap for today. We are covering escaping the blur, protecting your energy, building a minimum baseline, micro courage and boundaries, your compass and scoreboard, and finally, the vocabulary of winning. Let's get to it. Section 1. Escaping the blur. Diagnosing the chaos. Let's start by looking at why it so often feels like you're constantly busy but getting absolutely nowhere. Ask yourself a really honest question right now. Did your year just feel like a blur? I'm talking about a year where your days didn't violently explode or crash, but they just sort of passed by. The source material uses this brilliant analogy. It's like taking 200 photos with a dirty camera lens. Sure, you took a ton of pictures, you did a lot of stuff, but absolutely nothing feels sharp. It's all just kind of out of focus. And that brings us to this incredible quote. My days are full, but not memorable. Man, that just hits right at the empathy center, doesn't it? Think about being full, like a suitcase. But when you actually zip it open, it's just packed with crinkled receipts and stress. It literally means you were awake, you were physically moving around, but you weren't fully living. You were just surviving the day. So what's the actual villain here? Well, it's something called reaction mode. This is what happens when you're living your entire life just reacting to every single urgent demand. Every ping on your phone, every quick question email, instead of, actually choosing what you focus on. You're definitely not lazy, you're just constantly held hostage to the pop-ups of life. Okay, picture this. Imagine your brain is a web browser and you've got 47 tabs open. Just one of those tabs is your actual goal, maybe learning a language or finishing that big project. But the other 46? Pure chaos. You sit down to do the real work, you check one quick notification, and boom, 25 minutes later, you're watching a video of some guy making a pizza in the middle of the jungle, right? We've all been there. When you live in reaction mode like that, your memory just lags, and the whole week blurs together. Moving to Section 2. Protecting your energy, the foundation of the blueprint. If we're going to fix this blur, you have got to start treating your energy like it is hard currency. See, we constantly beat ourselves up thinking, oh, I just lack motivation. But trying to drive a car with an empty gas tank, the car just stops. You can yell at the car, you can give the car a deeply moving motivational speech, but it is not going anywhere without gas. What most people actually lack isn't time and it isn't motivation. It's the baseline fuel of energy. When your tank is empty, answering even one single email feels like trying to move a literal mountain. To protect that precious energy, you have to identify your quiet drain. This is the stealthy little villain that secretly siphons off your fuel. For some of us, yeah, it's doom scrolling. For others, it's people-pleasing or staying up way too late. But overthinking? Wow, this is a fascinating one. You can completely exhaust yourself replaying a 5-minute conversation in your head while your physical body is just sitting still on the couch. Your brain literally ran a marathon, but you haven't moved an inch. That quiet drain steals your year and leaves you in emotional bankruptcy by 3 p.m. Find your specific drain and just resolve to cut it back. Section 3. Building a minimum baseline, your daily seatbelt. Once you patch that drain and your energy actually stabilizes, we build a baseline. And look, forget the myth of the perfect fantasy day. The one where you wake up at 5 a.m., drink some magical green juice, and never feel stress. Total fantasy. Instead, you need to create a minimum honest day. Think about baselines so ridiculously small that you can do them on your absolute worst, most unmotivated days. Just 10 minutes of language practice, a quick 10-minute walk, or simply avoiding an impulse buy. It acts exactly like a seatbelt. A seatbelt doesn't make your road trip luxurious, but when life gets incredibly bumpy, it keeps you in the seat. Section 4. Micro courage and boundaries, active defenses for your goals. Now, to protect your time from the rest of the world, you have to build active defenses using what the source brilliantly calls micro-courage. You do not need to give a TED Talk on day one. You just need one tiny brave act every day. The source material shares this amazing story of a student whose entire identity shifted just by ordering a latte in English rather than simply pointing at the menu. When she actually spoke up and said, "Can I get a latte, please?" Boom, a light turned on. That tiny 2-second moment of showing up is how a winning identity is actually born. But here's the thing. To protect this new courage, you absolutely must set boundaries. Without them, your life is basically a house with no doors. Everyone just walks right in and eats all your snacks. You defend your space using environment design. The rule is simple. Add friction to bad habits. Log out of your apps, delete your saved credit cards so you literally can't impulse buy with one click. On the flip side, remove friction from your good habits. Leave your notebook open right on the kitchen table. Make the good habit the lazy, easiest possible choice. Set it up right, and discipline stops feeling like a constant cage match. Section 5. Your compass and scoreboard, navigation for the long haul. Because, let's be real, January's motivation is super loud, but February is brutally honest. To stay on track for the long haul, you need to pick a single word to be your compass, your North Star. Maybe it's calm, focus, courage, consistency, or peace. You don't need a 50-page life plan, you just need one single word that can virtually tap you on the shoulder. When you're tempted to say yes to some massive project that's going to totally drain you, your compass word, let's say it's focus, taps you and asks, "Hey, is this focus?" It's the perfect, simple filter to keep you from drifting back into the blur. And then you pair that compass word with a scoreboard where you track a maximum of just 3 simple numbers. Why only 3? Because it's actually manageable. You might track early bedtimes, or days you practice to skill, or reset days. Tracking is absolutely vital because honestly, your feelings and your moods, they are super confusing and they will flat out lie to you. But your actions don't lie. Seeing those 3 simple numbers written down on paper builds an incredible amount of quiet resolve. Finally, Section 6, the vocabulary of winning, your mental toolkit. Let's tie all of this together by building a mental toolkit through a rapid-fire vocabulary tour. Grounding these concepts into your everyday language gives you serious power over your habits. First up, recalibrate. When you miss a day of your baseline, the old you might panic, right? Or just quit entirely. But the new you knows that it's just like a GPS missing a turn. The GPS doesn't shame you, it just recalculates the route. You simply recalibrate, make a tiny correction, and immediately get back on the road. And that constant recalibration creates our next word, momentum. Momentum is taking that dramatic, super heavy first push of a fully loaded shopping cart and turning it into a smooth, effortless roll forward. Starting is always the hardest part, but once you get rolling with small, daily wins, that forward movement actually starts pulling you along, rather than you having to fight for every single inch. Next up is resilience. Now, true resilience isn't this impossible fantasy standard where you never, ever fall off the wagon. It's about acting exactly like a rubber band. You might get stretched out, you might get pulled in some really weird directions by life, but you bounce back fast and you never break. It's all about the same-day restart, not waiting until next Monday to try again. Let's see this toolkit actually in action. By integrating phrases like drawing the line, hitting the reset button, and cutting back, you completely change how you operate. You actively apply these boundaries to your everyday life. You draw the line before you reach that absolute last straw. You hit the reset button before you're standing on the brink of total burnout. Language literally shapes your reality, and these phrases empower you to actually stay in the driver's seat. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to consider this. A year doesn't change with a big speech. It changes with one small, repeatable choice. That perfectly summarizes absolutely everything we've explored today. A winning year is not built with fireworks and massive declarations on January 1st. It's built quietly through tiny, repeatable upgrades, minimum baselines, and just a steady, quiet resolve. So to ensure you're no longer just surviving on autopilot, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Look at your 47 open tabs right now. Which single tab are you going to close? What is the one small choice you will make today to step out of the blur, protect your energy, and finally claim your turn to win? Think about it. And more importantly, go act on it.